Since we would have been over at Biz Lab today, and we're having to postpone that a week at least, I wanted to kind of do a similar activity to what we did last week, where they showed the picture of the little girl trying to wash the car. So I want to create, through three pictures and very little information, I want to create an image, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to break you into probably three breakout rooms, and I want you to identify a design challenge based on these three pictures, right? So that means that you're going to look at the pictures. You're not looking for a solution. You're not proposing a solution, but you're putting yourself through empathy. You're putting yourself in the shoes of the client, and you're trying to come up with what are some of the needs that you think might exist because of the pictures, and you're looking at it from the client's point of view. So let me remind you what a design challenge is, because this is something Jeff talked about last week. A design challenge articulates the problem that you're trying to solve and helps you define the scope that is neither too narrow or too broad. So you're trying to figure out, what are you trying to solve? You're not coming up with a solution. You're asking a question, what am I trying to solve? And you're trying to make sure that the question isn't so big or so narrow that you're not going to be successful. And there's not going to be a perfect application of this in this little exercise here, but do not go straight to a solution. You're going to be tempted to. Matter of fact, this is what you can do. Initially, you could write down what is the first solution, most obvious solution you'd think of. But then after that, work through what could the challenge actually be. And the way this is going to work is you're going to be able to kind of phrase, you're going to create a phrase that looks like this. The user, so the customer, the client, needs, so the client needs, and let's make me the client. So JB needs, and then what do you think the need might be? The need, not too broad, not too narrow. It's not the solution. What's the need? And then because of, and then what insight do you have that helped you come up with that need? So what does Jared need and why? So it's Jared needs this because of this. Simple. It kind of helps you stay on track. You're not going straight to the solution. You can come up with your first solution, the most obvious solution, write that down at the top. But I'm going to break you into three breakout rooms, but I do want to show you first here. Let me go to gallery view here. I'm going to show you three images real quick here. Okay, so it's very simple, kind of something that we're familiar with. A coffee and tea shop. We're calling it Barn Owl Coffee and Tea, located in North Kansas City, Missouri. I'm the owner, so that's the scenario. There's a coffee and tea bar in North Kansas City, Missouri that I own, and you are trying to figure out, what does Jared need and why? And you can come up with your first most obvious solution, but then you have to start answering these questions, and you're going to come up with a kind of a challenge statement. So let me go to the next slide and show you three pictures. All right, three pictures. I'll let you look at them for a minute or two. You can maybe write down some observations. Then when I put you in your breakout rooms, you guys are each going to talk about it. So here are the three pictures. So you can see, Jared Ball, can you guys see those pictures?
Yep, we can see them.
Okay. All right. So look closely at these pictures. Obviously, this is a fictional scenario, so they don't exactly line up. That would be the first clue. If you're, the Hardy Boys, you'd be like, oh, well, these three pictures are not the same place. Well, it's a game. So three very distinct pictures of JB's Barn Owl Coffee and Tea Bar. So I'll give you another 30 seconds to look at these closely. Everyone got a good look at that? 3 pictures of the Barn Owl Coffee and Tea Bar located in North Kansas City, Missouri. Just try and look really deeply because you're looking for needs. So this is very specifically, what do I, as the owner of the Barn Owl, need? And what is the insight that led you to think that that's the need? Okay? There might be an obvious solution that comes to your mind first. You can write that down, but then you got to kind of back off of that. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing that. Okay? Okay, so everyone got a pretty good glimpse of those pictures. I'm going to send you into breakout rooms. And what I'll do is I will have Emmy lead one breakout room, Krista lead one breakout room, and Alyssa lead one breakout room. So let me divide you guys up. I'll also broadcast to all 3 breakout rooms that little phrase and the definition. So once we get to the breakout rooms, just give me a quick second. A little bit of a challenging way of thinking of things, but I think it's really good for us to realize that you cannot just jump to a solution, because there's no way at first glance you can possibly know what the solution needs to be. It would be pretty rare. Now, there are outliers to this. Obviously, there's a really good Malcolm Gladwell book that kind of talks about when you have a gut feeling about something and you just kind of go with that, and how it just seems like sometimes we can identify something just by looking at it. So, but when you're trying to help someone come up with a real solution, this process of design thinking is really valuable. So let's get a spokesperson from each group. Just give me just a short, let's start off with, if you had a kind of an initial solution that you thought of, the very first most obvious solution, what was it? Did any of your groups have a solution that just kind of popped up?
The solution for our group was that they need to redesign how the front runs by adding more employees and then better management of those employees in order to effectively run and get drinks out and everything like that.
Yeah. So that's the obvious solution that kind of comes to mind when you see those 3 pictures. So did either of the other 2 groups have one of those initial, quote unquote, obvious solutions?
I think our obvious solution was just that you need more space in general.
Yeah. All right. And then, Chris, did you guys have one of those obvious solutions?
Yeah, ours was the same as Emmy's. They just need more employees, better training.
All right. Okay. All right. So now, as we get past that, because that's kind of, we got to acknowledge it. Okay, we have a gut feeling, and you know what? Could be right. I mean, that might be the actual solution we come to. But to get to the solution and be confident with the solution, we have to go back to identifying the problem or the challenge. So, what did your challenge statement end up being, Krista? What did you guys have for your challenge statement?
Okay, we came up with, you need an expansion plan with proper and adequate training because your facility is too small to serve your clientele well.
Okay, all right. Emmy, what was your guys' design challenge statement?
Ours was that you need to figure out how to manage the amount of customers coming in because they're not having a good experience while they're there.
Okay, all right. And Alyssa, what was your guys' challenge statement?
So ours was basically that you need to be able to have a better design in order to better serve the customers so that they can trust they're going to be able to get a good product, but in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, great. And you guys accomplished the goal. I mean, in such a short period of time. It's not about having one specific solution. And we're going to hear this more. How many of you went to the very first Blue Bean field trip last year with Carlos? So about 2/3. I think Emmy had volleyball that night. I remember you weren't there. Daniel wasn't back yet. So I don't know if any of you remember what Carlos said. I think he might have even mentioned it last week, but did any of you remember the phrase that we kind of riffed off of many times last year. Does anyone remember the quote from Carlos?
I think I do.
Yep.
Is it fall in love with the problem, not the solution?
There you go. All right. So when he first said that, I wrote it down and it didn't make sense to me. Because I'm like, no. You fall in love with the solution. I mean, you're solution oriented. But this makes a lot more sense when you're looking at it from this perspective. Fall in love with the problem. Really dig into the problem. Because you know what? All three of you came up with slightly nuanced, different solutions. All three solutions might be good solutions. They might all actually be helpful. Or you might be able to come up with a hybrid of that. Or they might try one solution, get more employees, and realize, yeah, but they still have a parking lot where they can't get enough cars in. Or they might expand their front counter, but they don't have enough employees for it or whatever. So don't fall in love with the solution, fall in love with the problem. It makes a lot more sense when you're looking at it from this direction. Okay, that's it for today.